Oneohtrix Point Never. Oh, more like 2p scams tip rarely. So this new album drops today. I totally heard the leak. I know, I'm a terrible person, I'm a terrible fan, I know. Oneohtrix Point Never, more like best producer ever. He's my favorite electronic artist of all time. The album Replica is my favorite electronic album of all time. It is so unbelievably flawless. A mind-blowing album, in my opinion. I really recommend spending a good amount of time with that album. I just go on a walk. You know, I don't want to say it. Just go on a walk and just get lost in this album. It is mesmeric. I love this guy's work a lot, man. I've listened to damn near everything the dude has released. I'm terrible at speaking. From Garden of Delete to Betrayed in the Octagon to Returnal to Russian Mind to R+7, the dude is incredible, in my opinion. I think his work is pretty fucking stellar. This new album, however, in my opinion, is one of his weakest, but it has some stunning moments that are definitely worth your time. I think just the first half, the start of the album is a bit shaky to me. It opens up with the title track, Age Of. This song introduces something that is pretty prevalent throughout the entire track list. There's this like use of this very grandiose and sort of, I want to say sophisticated, sort of Asian guitar type instrument that pops up quite regularly on this album. Just little melodic embellishments just peppered throughout some of these songs. You'll hear just this like these Asian guitars. It creates for some nice oriental atmosphere quite a lot of the time. But on this track, this opening track, the entire song is damn near dominated by this one instrument. And I suppose it sets a tone, sure, but I wasn't really like blown away right out of the gate. I was like, okay, this is just like a little intro. It didn't really feel like a fully developed, like layered song, like in the same way tracks like, I don't know, like Sticky Drama from Garden of Delete is, for example. It felt like, it felt a bit hollow for Oneohtrix Point Never standards, and I can say that for a handful of tracks. There is just this sort of shallow feel, this sort of empty-ish kind of feel to some of these tracks, in my opinion. Sometimes it is like on the song Black Snow, which is a very skeletal and minimal and patient and eerie, a slow burn of a track. The Station as well is quite minimal with this instrumental. It's not really all that thick, or like there's not a huge wall of noise going on there, you know. The Station features this really hypnotic guitar loop. And I like the way it like occasionally just like stops and starts and reverses and does these weird progressive things, and it evolves into a really beautiful cascade at the end that just spirals into this lovely finish. It's really cool. This hypnotic replica-esque loop pops in and in the final act of the song. It's a pretty cool instrumental. It's really interesting. I just wish that the vocal work on this track was a little better, and that's probably my biggest problem with the first half of this album. On the songs Babylon and The Station, I can't say I enjoy what's happening vocally on these tracks. There are these vocals that are implemented here. There is vocals, there is singing on these songs, very heavily drenched in effects and auto-tune and reverb and all this shit, loads of effects. It's warped to the point where you can barely understand what's being said, especially on the song The Station. On Babylon, it's a little bit more kind of moany. On this track, I believe the vocals are coming from Prairie, and I think James Blake actually had some production credits on this song, which is crazy because I think this is one of the weakest tracks. It's probably my least favorite song on the album, and that's because it just creates no strong or potent feel, or like there's nothing consequential or nothing like memorable to me about the song, really. I catch myself using the word inconsequential quite a bit in my reviews, and what I mean by that is I feel like if I were to remove this song from the context of the album entirely, I feel like my thoughts on the album at large wouldn't be all that highly affected, I feel like Babylon didn't really leave much of a mark on me at all. It has a really shit end too. The way it finishes off, it just abruptly cuts off, and then the next track, Manifold, starts. And Manifold is awesome. I really love the piano in the song. It's again very hypnotic, has a really crazy ending as well. The outro on this track is again, it's a bit abrupt, it's a bit dizzying, disorienting, but it is pretty interesting. I feel like something could have really blossomed from that, but the song is about 1:50. I really wish it went on longer. It did more interesting things. Toys 2, I think, has one of the strongest intros on the album. The crescendo that builds at the start is a really good reel-in at the beginning of the song, and the way it transcends after that is really lovely. Some awesome, just whirling synths popping on this track. It sounds great. Black Snow is definitely a grower. At first, this song did not stick out to me on this album. I didn't hear it when it dropped as a single, but yeah, this track, it's really fucking unsettling. Now, this is a great example of a track on this album that is skeletal and minimal and not really doing all that much, but it's just coming together so well to create such a strong tone. Kind of like a Mutant Standard from Garden of Delete. Like, at least for the first few minutes of that song, where it's not really much is happening, it's just these, like, pulsating synths. It's not a lot is going on. It's very, very minimal, but it's so... like, it's so tense, it's doing so much with so little. Like, that song sounds like you're being chased by, like, a wolf, like, at like, midnight or something, and it's, like, dark as hell, and you're, like, freaking out, and it sounds really, like, paranoid, you know? Barely anything is happening for those first few minutes of the track, and then it does kind of, like, you know, grow and progress later on, but I think Oneohtrix Point Never is really great at that, and there are some instances of this album where he fails to do that, like on, the interlude song, Myriad.Industries. Again, just inconsequential, just nothing exciting happened there, like, he's just barely anything musically is going on, not really much in the way of detail, and it just doesn't leave much of a mark. Babylon was the same way, but Black Snow, I think, is the best example of a song that's very minimal and stripped down, but it's doing so much with what little is there. Like, it starts off with just this really just ominous bass line and these just harrowing vocals talking about, like, this incoming wave of black snow. Like, you see, like, he's heard it on the TV, like, this black snow is coming. Like, it's really just fucking eerie. What the fuck is this black? It just sounds like this, it just feels like impending doom, like some, like, really, like, horrifying thing is, like, coming. And then this, like, synth line pops in the second half, and that really fills up the track, and it just becomes so unbelievably, it just sounds chilling. It took me a minute to fully appreciate it, but it's probably one of the best tracks here, I think. But however, whilst the first half has a few missteps for me, it's a little bit shaky, and the flow of it's a bit awkward too, the second half of this album was... which is a good thing, by the way, you know, that's a good thing. I mean, yeah, like, it was great. It was overwhelmingly fantastic. I really loved the second half of this album. It's damn near perfect. It's damn near flawless, bro. Tracks 8 to 13, for the most part, is flawless. The only big problem, again involving vocals, on the song Warning, right, there's this point in the track where it's building this super kind of intense build using these, like, whispery, like, chanting vocals, like, warning, warning, warning. Fucking creepy. It's like, what the hell? And then it just, like, builds and builds, like, subtly builds, like, you can tell it's building, but it's not, like, getting loud or anything. It's like just slowly, sort of progressively, you know, just, like, inching towards something. Unexpectedly, I would say, there's this, like, loud, oppressive, distorted, screaming voice just going, warning! Just screaming. Really, it's ear-piercing. And, like, after that, the song just, like, continues as it was before. It feels really pointless. Like, I would have liked it if maybe right after that scream, it, like, then progressed into some, like, crazy, just, like, loud, like, oppressively, just massively intimidating, like, really provocative phase of, like, a new part of the track that's just really in your face. But it just kind of continued doing what it was earlier, before this build started. And it just seemed like it was a bit of an awkward flow. I felt like it didn't really progress. It didn't really feel very natural. However, though, everything outside of that little build bit in the middle was really nice. I thought the production here generally was really great. But then we have the next track, We'll Make It, and fucking fuck. This song was so sick. It was one of the grimiest things I think I've ever heard Oneohtrix Point Never pull off. This shit sounded so fucking hard, bro. This shit was crazy. Right, there is this, like, really screechy, just shrill, warped, like, just fucking scraping metallic noise that just sounds so sick, and the percussion, the way it just trudges along so mechanically, it just sounds incredible. I think it's a really, really satisfying, like, it's very progressive too. It's just moving, and there was this one bit early on in the song, there's this fucking noise, this, like, sound effect, like, right before it all hammers down. It's like a voice, but it's, like, warped as hell, and it sounds really, like, robotic. It's really hard to describe without, like, playing it, but yeah, it sounded so cool. Like, there were loads of really sick, just, like, sound effects just thrown throughout the song that I think just sound really great. We have the song Same, which is, again, like, an interlude, like, manifold from the first. Like, the first half and the second half of the album are very much, like, they kind of feel like two individual, like, EPs in a way. And then we have the Myriad.Industries interlude in the middle to separate these two halves. But I do kind of feel like they both have their own identity in a way. And yes, Same is the interlude of the second half, I guess. And I think this track works way better as an interlude. I feel like Manifold could have, like, transpired into something way more fulfilling and well developed. But a Same, I think, works better as a contained, like, 1 minute 50 seconds long little interlude piece. It's crazy, it's wild, it's just a collection of really insane sonic ideas. I feel like it worked best at that length too. The groove on the second last track too was really great. The vocals in this song, I think they're from Anoni. And yeah, if that is her on the second last track, I thought she sounded really lovely. A really interesting, somber, melancholy groove going on the second last track. And the finish, the final song, is a really climactic ending. The second half was the serious, like, deal sealer. Like, the second half of this album was everything I wanted. I just wish it could have kept up that consistency from the first half as well, because some of the vocals just, it was rubbing me the wrong way. Some of the songs felt a little bit underdeveloped and a little bit hollow. Yeah, I honestly, I hesitate to say I loved the whole thing. If I was like to rate the first half and the second half separately, the second half is like a 9, the first half is like a 6. I think it rounds out at a very high 7. Very high 7. I don't feel right giving it the 8, but I would gladly return to this album. I do really like it. I just don't think I love it like that, like I do a lot of his other work. Still though, I'm not disappointed with this thing. I'm happy we got this album. I think it's a good album, and I think it's one of the stronger electronic releases this year, and I recommend it if you're an electronic fan. If you're a Oneohtrix Point Never fan, I'm sure you'll find some great shit here that you'll really enjoy. But for me, can't say I love the album, but it does have some really excellent moments. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Age of by Oneohtrix Point Never. Thank you for watching my review. I'll see you later. Bye!